now recognize Congressman Lynch for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations to you and to the ranking member. Dr. Schmidt, in March of 2021, the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence released its comprehensive, I think it was like 800 pages. It actually defended itself against the risk of being read by its sheer thickness. But right after your report came out, I was the chair of the National Security Subcommittee, and we invited you to testify regarding that. I see your staff all nodding. They have painful memories of this, I'm sure. But we invited you in, and we went over the report. It had 16 major recommendations, and then probably another 20 other subsidiary ancillary recommendations. I'm wondering if you could talk about the progress or the lack of progress we've made over these 2 years now since you last testified before this committee about this issue. You had some very pointed recommendations, you know, for DARPA, you had recommendations and action items for Congress, for the executive, for this interagency task force that you envisioned. Can you talk a little bit about where you think, how much progress do you think we've made, and you know, would you give us, what kind of grade would you give all of us?
Well, first place, you guys give us the grade, and we're happy to serve. I would say about half of our recommendations have been adopted through the NDAA and other processes. We were kind enough to write the legislation for you as a hint, and you all were able to adopt it fairly quickly, and it worked. The area that I'm most focused on right now is basically the training problem, and I just don't see the progress in the government to reform the way it hires and promotes technical people. As part of our AI report, we proposed a civilian, essentially, training academy for digital skills. And there are various different forms of this, but I don't think the government is going to get what it needs unless it has a program which is modeled on the military academies, but for civilians, where civilians get trained in technology in return for serving in the government in a civilian capacity to help the government out. This is a young person's game. These technologies are too new. You need new students, new ideas, new invention. I think that's going to be the fastest way to get it. I don't think the government's going to get there without it. That'd be my highest, I think that's the largest omission.
Is there a way, so I actually was confronted with this same problem in my district, where a lot of high-tech firms, biotech firms, moving into the district, and I grew up in the local public housing projects, and those kids, our kids, weren't getting those jobs. So I founded a charter school that focuses on STEM, basically, you know, math, science, technology, and it's doing really, really well. But it's one school, you know, out of 100. And is there a way to? I'm not so sure it's efficacious to try to take somebody who's coming out of high school or in college and then make them a tech person. I think it's a much longer runway and better chances of success if we start at a very early age. I mean, is there any thoughts about, you know, I mean, you know, we're having problems with our public education system anyway, but is there a way to amp that up at an early age, in early grades, to produce the type of workers that you envision will be necessary to maintain our edge, and not only in artificial intelligence, but everything else we got to do?
Israel does something interesting in this area. If you're 15 or 16 and a math prodigy, they actually put you in a special school that's combined with their mandatory military training. I'm not suggesting the mandatory military training for our math people. God knows how they would do. But the important thing is identifying the talent early and then getting it into the right track. And again, the educators to my left can talk about this at more length. But I think that at a federal level, the easiest thing to do is to come up with some program that's administered by the states or by leading universities. Every state has a big land-grant university that's interested in this, and getting them money so that they can build these programs, and then they get paid back for that with service. I like those models, and that's a model that takes your idea and scales it. There is a lack of money to build these systems at scale, and so that idea or some variant of it would do it. Alexander?
Thank you. Yes,
If I can just add, is that AI is a technology that you learn best by applying it to use cases. And government, so I actually was discussing exactly this problem with DoD because they have exactly suffered from this. And instead of thinking of this as a weakness, this could be a strength. Once you try to apply AI internally to your problems, that's where people will learn. And this way, actually, people come, let's say, to DoD or to government programs for 3-5 years, and they come back to the civilian sector. And really, like also, well, we are lacking this talent also in our civilian economy too. So I think that's the way to go, and the government could play a big role here.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I know I have another witness eager to answer the question, but I think I've run out of time. Okay. Ms. Hickok?
I just wanted to follow up with the last remark as well in terms of education. I echo the Task Force, National AI Research Task Force report and recommendations on democratizing the research and development capabilities within the federal government, for the government as well. Sometimes our brightest minds are forced to go to a handful of companies and labs and campuses to do their research in areas that they're interested. But if we have this capacity within the government's infrastructure as well, that would also be another way to attract this workforce. And I will expand also the education piece from the schools to consumers and expand the education need from technology jobs to all the jobs. We need lawyers who understand these concepts. We need sociologists, anthropologists, ethicists, policymakers. We need understanding and capacity building in these topics across the whole domain and industry.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I yield back, and I thank you for the courtesy, and I thank the gentleman as well. Thank you.